I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about the implications of gifting assets away. Todd, if you're trying to protect your assets from the cost of long-term care expenses, what are the risks in giving your assets to a child rather than transferring them to an irrevocable trust?
Yeah, that's a great question. So many people feel like, oh my gosh, it's an irrevocable trust. I've lost all control. I've given up the ability to do just about anything. You hear that all the time. But you know what? Think about it. If I instead gave my investment portfolio to my children, right, or my rental property to my children, how much control do I have over that? I got none. I got to rely on them to pretty much do everything, not to mention the fact that, let's say I gave my rental property away. Technically, I can't sell it. I can't do anything without the children doing it. And what you forget is the children then would be entitled to all the rent. Well, you gave away your rental income. What about if a child gets a divorce and you gave them an investment portfolio to hold on to? Well, that money would all be subject to their divorce or any of their creditors. Plus, it all gets picked up on their income tax return. Folks, you give away assets, you lose all control and create lots of adverse income tax and gift tax consequences. You're way better off setting up an irrevocable trust to protect your assets from the cost of long-term care.
Educate yourself about the implications of gifting your assets away. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide called Making the Most of Gifting Assets right now by calling 866-848-5699, or you can request a copy from LegalExchangeShow.com. Once again, 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
If you're looking for an incredible vacation filled with sun, fun, and no need for a passport, look no further than the United States Virgin Islands. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John were voted the #1 vacation destination to visit this December according to U.S. News and World Report. December is the start of the dry season in the islands, so you can expect perfect temperatures, beautiful beaches, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now before Old Man Winter comes calling. Head to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by taking part in this year's DAV 5K. For more information, visit dav5k.boston. The DAV 5K Boston is proudly presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
It's Friday here on the Financial Exchange, and we are thrilled to be participating in the DAV Radiothon with our Boston affiliate WRKO. helping as they raise money for the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Obviously, we've got Veterans Day coming up. The big DAV 5K is tomorrow. And to make your gift today to the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts, call 978-632-1985. Again, 978-632-1985. You can also visit dav5k.boston. All proceeds, they go to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. These are people who spent an awful lot of time protecting all of us and, sacrificed their bodies to be able to do that. And so it's important to honor and respect what they did because, quite honestly, Mike and I did not. Tucker did not. And so this is the very least that we can do to help those who, returned injured to do as much as they possibly can in their lives back here as civilians. Again, that number is 978-632-1985. 978-632-1985, or you can make your gift today by visiting dav5k.boston. Mike, yesterday we had Jay Powell give a speech yesterday. I'm not really sure why. Quite honestly.
He was speaking to, wasn't it IMF or something like that? He had an excuse to do it. It wasn't out of the blue.
No, it wasn't like out of nowhere, but I don't know. It wasn't the IMF. It was something less important. I think I can't remember exactly what it was. But Jay Powell gave a speech yesterday, and the first thing that was rather funny was, I don't know if anyone listening has seen or heard the video or audio, but he was interrupted by climate protesters. And the video that I saw, at least, it cuts out, and they cut it to black just because I guess they didn't want to show the faces of the people who were actually protesting. And Jay Powell's in the middle of his speech. He's talking about inflation, yada, yada. And then you hear these people, come in yelling, oh, you got to help us stop climate change. And he just stops talking for a minute, and you can tell he's kind of looking. You can just hear him looking is the best way I can describe it. He's just kind of observing. And then after about a 10-second pause, he just goes, close the effing door.
Except he said it.
He did. And I wonder if this is going to be the lasting memory of Jay Powell above all else, is him saying that. And
nobody ever said he wasn't practical.
Well, just close the door. But Powell was talking yesterday, and I had a couple of people asking me, look, Powell starts talking, and it seemed like the whole market sell-off and the bond yield spiked. And
it sold off by 0.5% in the moment he started speaking.
It did not.
No?
It was before he started speaking. And this is, I think, something very important, is if you actually look at the data from yesterday, the bond market did not really budge once Jay Powell started speaking. What we did see yesterday was a 30-year U.S. Treasury bond auction at 1 p.m. And the way Treasury bond auctions work, if you're not familiar with them, is the United States Treasury says, hey, we've got X dollars in bonds that we need to offer, and here is the interest rate that we are going to offer them at. Please submit your bids. And typically what you like to see, there are a few different numbers that you like to look at. The first is what's known as the bid-to-cover ratio. We're getting into the weeds, but this is where the meat is in terms of what actually happened yesterday. Bid-to-cover ratio is very simple. If you're auctioning $1 billion in bonds and you get $2 billion in bids for them, your bid-to-cover is 2-to-1. You want a high bid-to-cover ratio because it means that you have more demand for your bonds than you are offering. It's a sign that you'll be able to continue offering in the future. The second thing that you look for is the high yield that finally gets accepted. The way that Treasury bond auctions work, they are a Dutch auction. And so effectively, the lowest yields, the highest prices get filled first, and then you get the higher yields and lower prices filled later on. Everyone ends up taking home the bonds at the same price, which is the highest yield that is offered. But what you want to see is, okay, what percentage are being taken down by that highest yield? And, what's the spread from that high yield compared to what you're offering them at? And what we saw yesterday, the big thing was that the high yield that the bonds actually finally went at was 5 basis points above what they were originally offered at. And so that is a sign that the Treasury could not fill all of the demand at the price and at the rate they wanted to, which is why the long end of the Treasury curve then sold off sharply at 1 p.m. before Jay Powell started talking. Subsequently, we've seen those yields pretty much come all the way back. Not quite. There's still maybe another 3 or 4 basis points, but you're pretty much back there today. But there was this narrative that, Jay Powell started talking and bonds sold off. No, it happened just before he started talking, actually. So I think it's important to contextualize that. Because what Powell said yesterday was the same thing he said a week ago. We're not confident that we've yet done enough to stamp out inflation.
Yeah, this was the exact same speech that he gave last time. The difference was there wasn't a Q&A that resulted in everybody interpreting things differently. I go back to one thing. I mean, what has happened since Jerome Powell last spoke was that rates on the 10-year came down from where did we peak? Like 5. We were at 5. And came down to yesterday they were below 4.6. Today they're slightly above 4.6. Since July 26th, the Fed has not increased interest rates. That was the last time they did it. July 26th, up 25 basis points. At that point in time, 10-year yield was 3.85. The 10-year yield got up to 5. It's now come down to 4.6. By either measure, we are still substantially tighter in terms of financial conditions based on the 10-year yield than we were back in July of last year. I think the question is, do you have the 10-year slide further from here to get closer to where it was when Jerome Powell last hiked interest rates? In which case, to his point, we'll have to go higher.
And this is the whole thing now is the next 3 to 4 months, in my opinion, are a turning point. You see these occasionally where we had one last year in October where the economy inflected back up after it looked like we may have been heading towards a recession. We've got another now where the economy is turning downward, and the question over this next 3 to 4 months is going to be, how steep is that downward slope, and where does it bottom? And we'll get some clarity there, and how those questions play out will lead to whether the Fed's next move is to cut rates or maintain them. Because the one thing that you can say pretty conclusively about the Fed, it's generally rare at this point in a cycle for them to just hold rates steady for an extended period of time. I would be positively flabbergasted.
Positively flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted.
Wow.
If you had the Federal Reserve hold interest rates at a range of 5.25% to 5.5% for the next 2 years. That would be shocking to me.
That would be rather surprising.
Because the economy is just not that stagnant. It's either going to, you're either going to have a situation where there's some tightening warranted from here, some loosening. The only periods where we really have, the Fed historically holding rates in any, particular place for an extended period of time. Like, you go back and you look at the chart of the Fed funds rate and say, okay, how have they, typically held it steady? The only ones where they really did for an extended period of time, pretty much 2009 through 2015, 2016. Like, you had that 6-year period. And then there was 2001 through 2003, but even there were a couple cuts that were mixed in. So it wasn't like you had the same interest rate for that time period. The Fed is not typically keeping rates at a set level for 2-3 years at a time. It's just not what they do. So when you look at where we are today, effective Fed funds rate is 5.33%. It's kind of the halfway mark between 5.25% and 5.5%. We've been there since August. When do we move from there? I don't know, but we're not going to be there in August of 25 is my guess. Or if we are there, it's because we round-tripped in one direction. We went up and then back down, or down and then back up.
Yeah, there weren't no cuts or hikes in between. That's a fair point.
That's kind of where I get to. So that's what's going on with the Fed. Tucker also did probably some of his best work here, where the header image for the Wall Street Journal is Jay Powell just leaning against a wall, kind of looking up, just like
looking exasperated.
Just it's kind of like the give me strength pose is kind of what it looks like. And Tucker cut out and put the picture of Ben Affleck holding a cigarette in his right hand, leaning against like some penthouse in New York City with the exact same pose. It's
well done.
It's well
we
done.
need to Photoshop a cigarette just hanging out of Powell's mouth or something, though. That's the only missing item.
Yeah, we could work on that. We could work on that. So that's the situation with the Fed currently. Again, a reminder that today, all day, we're participating in our Boston affiliate WRKO's DAV Radiothon to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Make your gift today by calling 978-632-1985. Again, that is 978-632-1985. Let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how the Federal Reserve is viewing the office space market in the United States.
The Financial Exchange is now available on your Alexa smart speaker. Ask to play the Financial Exchange and catch up on anything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you're looking for an incredible vacation filled with sun, fun, and no need for a passport, look no further than the United States Virgin Islands. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John were voted the #1 vacation destination to visit this December according to U.S. News and World Report. December is the start of the dry season in the islands, so you can expect perfect temperatures, beautiful beaches, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now before Old Man Winter comes calling. Head to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. Legacy planning is incredibly important if you want to make sure you keep your assets in your family. But if it isn't done properly, you can create significant problems. Gifting assets to your children is admirable, but may not always be the best course of action, especially if there are financial difficulties or a divorce proceeding. Learn how to protect yourself and your family by calling Cushing & Dolan and asking for their brand new guide called Making the Most of Gifting Assets. In it, you'll learn about information related to the gifting process, what tax issues may arise from a major gift like a home or a vacation property, and what happens to the asset if a child has creditor issues. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, joining a long line of family members who also served our country. After my service, I connected with the VA healthcare systems where I attended meetings with disabled veterans and learned for the first time about the DAV. I was so impressed with the work they do to help millions of veterans, including providing necessary services like transportation, education, and financial opportunities. Today, I stand a proud partner of the DAV and the 2023 DAV 5K. My company, Veterans Development Corporation, is a general contracting firm working with many disabled veterans, and I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 11th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The latest news on inflation and how the markets are reacting every morning, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
A reminder that we are currently partnering with our Boston affiliate, WRKO, to raise money for the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The gifts that you make, they can help veterans who are homeless or hospitalized. They can help provide transportation for veterans who need it. The way to make your gift is by visiting dav5k.boston or by calling 978-632 1985. That number again is 978-632-1985. All gifts go to support the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. And next segment, we're actually going to be joined by Coleman Nee, who is the National First Junior Vice Commander of the Disabled American Veterans. And so he'll be joining us after the next break to talk a little bit about the organization and its mission. Mike, the Federal Reserve sees risks for banks from U.S. office space and rising interest rates.
Are you aware of the Federal Reserve having acknowledged the office space risk to this point? They've certainly talked about...
First mention I've seen of it.
Yeah, they've certainly talked about risks of banks. They're responsible for the oversight of banks. They had an internal investigation as to how Silicon Valley happened the way in which it did. The first mention, to your point, of them, I think, specifically calling out commercial office space and the risk that that poses to banks in particular. We've certainly talked about it. I think most people are aware that commercial lending is heavily done by regional banks that were already not in the best of shape with interest rate moves. Interesting to me that the Fed is now acknowledging it at this point.
I think the problem that we have in trying to figure out how big of an issue this is yes, regional banks deal with a lot of the commercial real estate market, but not necessarily the part that's struggling.
Sure.
They might have, when we talk about, small regional banks doing commercial real estate, it might be a 3-story office building that has 2 dentists, a doctor, and whatever on the top floors, and then a liquor store and a Subway on the bottom floor. That's a different type of building, obviously, than, hey, I've got a 40-story office tower in Boston that is now 30% vacant. What do I do with it? A small regional bank is not making the loan on that office tower because they're not lending $600 million to do so.
Right.
So it's tough for me to... Commercial real estate gets thrown around as this broad category. It's not as easy a read-through as residential real estate, where you can pretty much say multifamily or single family and figure out what's going on. Commercial real estate includes everything from laundromats to the Empire State Building.
Yeah. It is very difficult to know what those books look like. I don't want to make the issue solely about New York's financial district. Like that's the one that always gets pointed out is, look at the vacancy rates in New York City. You go look across the country, and whether it's in downtown cities or in suburban areas too, I always think about, whenever I think about suburban office real estate, I go out to my aunt and uncle's place in Chicago every year. It's my wife's aunt and uncle's, but we're there every Christmas, and it's riddled with a whole bunch of big office parks all throughout these suburbs that are near O'Hare. And this is not Class A office space. It's not in downtown Chicago. It's independent freestanding buildings that have been occupied by a number of different companies over the years. And, to some extent, I'm sure that some of those buildings are also owned by some, probably not very small banks, but, some of those regional banks in those areas. And so it is very difficult to know, hey, what is the occupancy building by building and who actually owns this stuff underneath? But when we talk, right now, everyone's saying, oh, I'm terrified of commercial commercial real estate. And I think the important thing to remember is what Chuck pointed out. Commercial real estate can mean offices. It can mean hospitals. It can mean emergency centers. It can mean dentist offices. It can mean shopping malls, apartment complexes. Like, there's a big swath of different commercial real estate. Warehouses, right? Like, everybody's been tremendously excited about warehousing.
Right?
Would it?
I think so.
Would it?
I would call
be a separate category.
Industrial, yeah.
Yeah. In either case, there is a broad range of this stuff, and it does not all fall into that office space category.
We need just some better segmentation there. That we got to do a rebrand. Can we get the guys from Meta to help with the rebrand? They seem like they're good at those.
There was some Meta. This wasn't in our stack, but so long as you mentioned Meta, did you see Meta's going to China?
What do you mean?
They have partnered with, I believe, what's the big video game maker? There's a Tencent.
Tencent, yeah.
So they partnered with Tencent. They're going to be trying to sell a cheaper version of their VR headset in China because they can't sell it here.
So a cheaper version of the VR headset in China, but they're still not allowed to have Facebook or
Correct.
Instagram in China.
Yeah, this is actually their first re-entrance into the Chinese market in, I think, 9 years.
I got to say, it kind of gives me the willies.
Yeah, I was trying to think about it. Like, maybe that's actually an area where a virtual reality plays a little bit better because I wouldn't want to live there either.
I was more speaking like a Facebook or a Meta or whatever you want to call it that bends to the whim of the Chinese Communist Party is something that would scare me. And for all of Zuck's issues that he's had over the last decade in terms of privacy, like all these things with Facebook and trying to build a metaverse and this and that. The one thing that you can say is, hey, the guy has not caved to Chinese demands for what it would take to put Facebook in China.
And others have. Microsoft did.
Yeah. So I give him credit on that,
Sure.
and that he's been like, no, this isn't what I'm going to do. Because the easy move would have been, sure, there's 1.4 billion people there. I'd love to have them on my platform.
Yeah, I'll censor whatever the heck you want.
It's kind of fascinating, actually, that they haven't done that. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got Wall Street Watch, and we're joined by Coleman Nee from the Disabled American Veterans.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, joining a long line of family members who also served our country. After my service, I connected with the VA healthcare systems where I attended meetings with disabled veterans and learned for the first time about the DAV. I was so impressed with the work they do to help millions of veterans, including providing necessary services like transportation, education, and financial opportunities. Today, I stand a proud partner of the DAV and the 2023 DAV 5K. My company, Veterans Development Corporation, is a general contracting firm working with many disabled veterans, and I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 11th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston. If you're looking for an incredible vacation filled with sun, fun, and no need for a passport, look no further than the United States Virgin Islands. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John were voted the #1 vacation destination to visit this December according to U.S. News and World Report. December is the start of the dry season in the islands, so you can expect perfect temperatures, beautiful beaches, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now before Old Man Winter comes calling. Head to visit usvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
This is Susan and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and this month we're talking about our free guide, the top year-end financial tips. Mike, the holidays are coming, and that brings with it the desire to gift to your family. What are the rules around the annual gifting limits?
Well, you, Susan, owe me a gift every single year, as we know. But I don't think that's what we're actually talking about. What the rules state is that you're able to make gifts in 2023 up to $17,000 without triggering any sort of reporting or paperwork requirements to the IRS. If you go above that $17,000 exemption amount per person, then you do have to file a gift tax return, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be any taxes owed. That's where a tax professional really comes into play here to make sure you understand what the ramifications of that are. But gifts to 529 plans, for instance, if you're looking to fund a specific goal, are very common this time of year.
So if someone's thinking about gifting away as a strategy to reduce their taxable estate, Mike, how do they go about that if they want to give away much more than the $17,000? That's the freebie, if you will.
Honestly, more than we can get to in a quick discussion, but you need to talk to a couple of planners here to make sure you understand the tax ramifications and understand the current limits, because states like Massachusetts just completely redid their estate tax, so there's new things to know about that type of strategy.
Folks, we have information about gifting as well as much more in our brand new guide, The Top Year-End Financial Tips. You can get your copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or request one online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, markets are bouncing back slightly after their loss as investors digest new comments from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell yesterday. Right now, the Dow is up by 46 points. S&P 500 up by 8 points, and the NASDAQ is up by 1/3%. Russell 2000 mostly flat. 10-year Treasury yield, that is down by 2 basis points, now at 4.60%. And crude oil up 1 2/3%, trading at $76.95 a barrel. Shares in Wyndham Resorts down by 7.5%, despite the casino giant posting a beat on top and bottom lines in the third quarter. However, some analysts were less encouraged by results from the company's Macau segment. Meanwhile, UK spirits manufacturer Diageo said this morning it expects growth to slow in the first half of its fiscal year as a result of weakness in Latin America and the Caribbean. That stock down by 14%. And Plug Power's stock was downgraded by RBC Capital Markets to sector perform from outperform, noting a series of unprecedented challenges that caused a shortage in the third quarter hydrogen supply. Plug Power also posted a larger than expected loss and disappointing revenue for the third quarter. That stock sinking by 37%. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
As promised, we are now joined by Coleman Nee as part of our DAV Radiothon that we are participating in. Again, if you want to make a gift, you can make your gift today by calling 978-632-1985. That number again is 978-632-1985. 1985. Coleman Nee is the National First Junior Vice Commander of the Disabled American Veterans. He's a service-connected disabled Marine Corps veteran who served from 1986 to 1994, including in deployment in support of Operation Desert Storm. He was appointed by the governor of Massachusetts to serve as the Massachusetts Secretary of Veteran Services from 2011 to 2015, overseeing $100 million in state funding for veterans and dependents, including financial aid and programming. Coleman, thank you for your service, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh, Chuck, thank you very much. It's a great day. It's Marine Corps birthday. We got Veterans Day tomorrow, and I just heard that the Dow is up, so everything's good.
It is a fantastic day today. Coleman, how did you end up getting involved in the DAV? What led you to decide to participate?
Well, it's as a veteran with a disability, I had always had great respect for the DAV, and especially when I was actually serving in state office. I really saw firsthand the kind of impactful work that DAV is doing every day, not just with helping veterans file for their disability claims and get their benefits, but the volunteerism, driving our veterans to their medical appointments who otherwise wouldn't be able to get there, volunteering in our hospitals, and more importantly now even doing it, as we see today, doing more outreach and more innovative programming around veterans that are struggling with home insecurity and homelessness, families that are struggling and need some readjustment and reintegration assistance. And I think all of that just really drew me to this, that it's a kind of organization that makes an impact. And for all the people donating today, your dollars go, pretty much directly right to the services and the benefits that we're, pleased to offer and that these people all earn.
When you talk about the mission of the DAV, what is the role that it fills that other organizations don't? What's that big thing that it does that you don't see other organizations that do help veterans? What's that key thing that it accomplishes?
Sure. I mean, DAV is over 102 years old, and we're a congressionally chartered organization. So we have very strict guidelines on how we do things and what we're doing. And what we see for many of our veterans is, they do appreciate being thanked for their service. They do appreciate the displays of patriotism and things that help them. But what DAV really does is get beyond that and says, hey, these people need help. They need services. They need benefits. They need little bits of assistance to help them overcome the challenges that their disabilities present and be able to get the medical care and the housing and the ability to live independent, productive lives. So I see DAV really across the country as taking that active of a role and making sure that happens on a direct level. And then at the higher level than that, down at D.C., we have one of the most active legislative offices of all the vet service organizations. We're a big driver of the PACT Act, which is the most comprehensive package of benefits and services that veterans have obtained through Congress.
Yep.
Probably in the last 100 years. It's really, it's that real concrete work that makes a big difference in the lives of everyday people who serve this nation and their families. And I think that's really what I think distinguishes us as an organization.
Coleman, beyond just contributions today, obviously, what things can people do to help support the DAV throughout the year to make sure that veterans are receiving that care and that help on a regular basis and not just, hey, I contributed one day and I'm done? How do people stay involved?
Yeah, veterans don't disappear for a year, right? We're there all year long, and our needs and our services are there. So I think if people want to make monthly contributions to DAV, that certainly is very helpful, but it's beyond that. Some people don't have a lot of money, so it's not just about treasure. It could also be about time. We are desperately in need of volunteer drivers to help us bring veterans to medical appointments. And we're not talking about a commercial driver's license. You just have to have a regular, valid state driver's license and help us get these people to the appointments. They can volunteer with us in our VA hospitals. We do a lot of work with the veterans, get to talk to them, make sure their needs are covered. Help people navigate the VA system. There's a ton of different ways that people can really contribute, whether or not they have their financial resources to do it or whether they just have some time. But either way, all of those contributions, whether it's money or time, all of that stuff makes a huge impact in the lives of an individual. And I can assure you, for our veterans, or for our volunteers, rather, that are working in our hospitals and that are doing the driving, when you come home that night, you can put a name and a face to the person whose life you've changed and whose life you've made better. And that's going to be somebody who served their country in uniform and really, put it all on the line for this nation. And it gives them the opportunity to give back and see that in a tangible and very visceral way in terms of, the impact that they're making. So there's a lot of different ways, and DAV.org and DAVMA.org are two great websites people can go to, and we can use the help.
Well, it's a powerful message there, Coleman. And, again, we really want to thank you for your service and for the work that you're doing with the DAV. And thank you so much for joining us today in helping to participate in this radiothon. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for doing the radiothon. It says a lot about the station, says a lot about yourself in terms of your commitment. And I really want to wish everyone a safe and peaceful Veterans Day. And to all those other devil dogs out there, happy birthday, Marines.
That is Coleman Nee, the National 1st Junior Vice Commander of the Disabled American Veterans. Again, to make your gift today, call 978-632-1985. That number again is 978-632-1985. All proceeds go to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. You can also donate by visiting dav5k.boston. Also, Tucker passed this along to me. I want to let you know that there is an auction that is currently ongoing here. The auction is for a dinner for 8 cooked by world-renowned chef Paul Wahlberg of Almanov and Wahlburgers in Hingham. It is a 6-course meal, including wine at your home. The only caveat, it's got to be a weeknight. Wine on a weeknight? Not a bad idea. Pretty good idea, actually. And the current bid for that is $7,500. Tucker, where do people go to bid on that?
I would assume it's DAV 5K Boston. I will get confirmation on that.
Okay, perfect. Again, that is a dinner for 8 cooked by Paul Wahlberg. 6-course meal, including wine at your home. Current bid is at $7,500 with proceeds going to benefit the DAV of Massachusetts. Again, that number, if you want to donate, is 978-632-1985. Why don't we take a quick break right here, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Chinese bank that found itself under fire from hackers yesterday.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Legacy planning is incredibly important if you want to make sure you keep your assets in your family. But if it isn't done properly, you can create significant problems. Gifting assets to your children is admirable, but may not always be the best course of action, especially if there are financial difficulties or a divorce proceeding. Learn how to protect yourself and your family by calling Cushing & Dolan and asking for their brand new guide called Making the Most of Gifting Assets. In it, you'll learn about information related to the gifting process, what tax issues may arise from a major gift like a home or a vacation property, and what happens to the asset if a child has creditor issues. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. If you're looking for an incredible vacation filled with sun, fun, and no need for a passport, look no further than the United States Virgin Islands. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John were voted the #1 vacation destination to visit this December according to U.S. News and World Report. December is the start of the dry season in the islands, so you can expect perfect temperatures, beautiful beaches, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now before Old Man Winter comes calling. Head to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I served proudly in the Marine Corps from 1981 to 1984 and was honored to receive the U.S. Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal, one of the oldest decorations still issued to active duty personnel. I started Veterans Development Corporation to give back to the veteran community. Many of my employees are former veterans, and it is my distinct pleasure to work with them each and every day. This is why I'm so excited to be partnering with the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts on this year's DAV 5K. If not for the DAV, many of our disabled veterans would not have access to critical services that they need to live comfortably. I hope that by telling my story, many more of our veterans will achieve their goals and dreams post-service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 11th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston. Miss any of the show? You can catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. You can make your gift today by calling 978-632-1985. Things that the money can go towards: VA claims and benefit counseling, education guidance, peer support, community activities, volunteer opportunities, a whole lot that you can do there as far as contributing. Even if you can't give any money today, still things that you can do if you want to contribute your time to an organization that helps an awful lot of people who again, serve to help protect all of us. That number, again, to make a donation is 978-632-1985. That's also the number that you can call if you want to bid on the dinner for 8 cooked by Paul Wahlberg. That is a 6-course meal, including wine, at your home. Current bid is $7,500. Mike, we got the new tax brackets for 2024 yesterday, as well as a few other updated numbers from the IRS. And tax brackets are expanding by 5.4%, so it means that if your income doesn't go up, your federal tax burden goes down because those income brackets have expanded, or at least in a lot of cases that's the case, unless you're basically all stacked up in the lowest bracket right now. Even then, you're still getting a bigger standard deduction. But
this is pretty good news across the board when it comes to tax brackets. So, I mean, if you're just thinking about this, let's say you're a retiree who's on Social Security. The COLA is, 3.2, 3.5 this year, something along those lines.
3.1, yeah.
The brackets are going up 5.4. So if that's your income source as a primary income source, one, you're not paying taxes in general, but even if it's a supplemental income source, you are looking at less taxes. If you're a worker, chances are your income has not gone up by 5.4% in 2023, and therefore, again, if you are lower than that 5.4%, generally speaking, caveats for other sources of income out there, you would again see tax rates go down here. The standard deduction is going up a little bit. So these are some pretty big moves here after big moves last year, too. The brackets already went up, I think, 7.5% this year.
The standard deduction now is $14,600 for individuals and $29,200 for married couples.
And that's if you're under 65.
It's hard to envision that many people itemizing with it at these levels, especially given that the SALT cap for state and local income taxes that you can deduct remains at $10,000. That has not expanded along with the standard deduction.
Although if you go get a new mortgage at 8%, you might get there.
Even there, remember, you're still capped at, what is it, $750,000 of mortgage, I think?
Something along those lines. But at 8%, that's a lot of interest.
It is. Other things in terms of changes for next year, the federal estate tax exclusion amount is expanding from $12.92 million up to $13.61 million. So I'm sure there's a group of people that's thrilled about that, even though it's not most people.
Set your calendars, by the way, though, folks. That in 2026 goes back down to the pre-Trump tax cuts. That's sunsetting automatically in 2026, I do believe.
And another big one that people always ask about is the annual limit on tax-free gifts. That is expanding next year from $17,000 per person per beneficiary up to $18,000. So that continues to get bigger as well, meaning that if you are interested in gifting funds to friends, family, whoever it is, that limit is now $18,000 without having to do any filings.
Yeah, these are constantly moving numbers. These are numbers that update every single year just about, and they are tough to keep track of. One of the ones that came to mind that we actually don't know about is Irma, our good friend Irma. If you have too much income, you end up paying more for your Medicare premiums. They don't even publish that data because it's based on income from 2 years ago, so we won't actually know where those numbers come in. But all of this requires a lot of planning, right?
Yeah.
You might be in a situation. The one that keeps coming up for me is I have some debt out there. It used to be really low interest, but now with higher interest rates, my debt is up. How do I pay that off without killing myself in terms of taxes? I've been getting that question a lot. And if you fall into a similar category there, you do have to be aware of these constantly changing tax brackets and how everything works in relation to your income, your asset sources, and being intentional with your money. I know it might seem simple, but there are a lot of complexities that go into how do I manage required minimum distributions? Should I be doing a Roth IRA conversion? I need to pay down some debt, or I might want to pay down some debt. Does it make sense to do so? Should I be spreading that over multiple tax years? If you have questions along these lines, we get questions like this at the Armstrong Advisory Group every single day. We'd love to walk you through them, help guide you through it. The number here is 800-393-4001. Again, it's Mike Armstrong with the Armstrong Advisory Group. All new numbers in terms of tax changes coming to you in 2024. If you have questions about how it might impact your retirement strategy, call 800-393-4001 or check out some of our great resources at our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hackers hit the U.S. arm of a large Chinese bank. The Industrial Commercial Bank of China has a U.S.-based entity called ICBC Financial Services that apparently was hacked this week.
It's a good call calling it ICBC.
Why?
Just publishing it as the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China would probably not make you quite as popular. But nonetheless, hacked.
Got it.
This, quite honestly, we talk about the hack of the week, so it's not incredibly rare to have a hack. What is pretty rare is to have hacks of large financial institutions. We haven't, for instance, seen big hacks to the likes of JP Morgan or Fidelity, although there have been several denial of service type hacks in the past where they at least are able to take down their websites in the past. So those things do exist. I think what this largely highlighted for a lot of people is, wow, there's a Chinese bank that's this intricately involved in the U.S. financial system. I mean, this is a bank that settles treasury trades. It's shining a bit of a light on that piece from my perspective.
Other things just of note, this was a ransomware attack where the piece that's interesting, this is according to someone by the name of Marcus Murray, who runs a cybersecurity company called TrueSec. Quote, a boundary has been broken. We haven't seen something like this involving a large bank before. We've seen previous cyber attacks against big banks, but the hackers have not used ransomware. It's not clear how this is going to impact banks or the wider financial system. So, just something of note there. Typically when you see the big banks hacked. It's usually trying to get more information about customers and things like that than trying to hold their systems hostage for Bitcoin.
Yeah. And, you know, the revenue and cash flow that flows through these things on an hourly basis, if you're locked out of these systems for any extended period of time, I'm not going to say it's worse than a hospital system having ransomware, but financially it's a very significant hit for every second that it's down.
Whoever ransomwares a hospital has real problems.
Yeah, pretty disgusting if you go.
You know, like it's just generally horrible behavior. I mean, look, anyone who ransomwares anything,
there's
has
a
got
sliding
some
scale
problems,
though.
But like there's a sliding scale between ransomwaring. I don't know who's
the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China versus Brigham and Women's Healthcare.
Yes.
Yeah. We can agree there.
Let's take a quick break here, but still a lot more to come. Remember, we're participating in the DAV Radiothon. To make your gift, call 978-632-1985. Quick break, back with more after this.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today we're talking about the implications of gifting your assets away. Todd, what happens if you give your home to your child in an effort to protect it from the nursing home, and later on you decide you want to sell it?
Yeah, that's just one of the problems of giving away your house, but let's explore it. If you give your house to your child thinking, okay, that was easy, but now you don't own it. So now you really have no right to live there and, of course, no right to sell it, right? Now, if you happen to have kids that are really nice and you ask their permission, which I don't ever want my clients to have to do, to say, please sell the house, you've also given them a huge tax liability because all the proceeds would go to them. Now, you don't have the money you need to buy your new house. And plus, if they don't live with you, then they don't get this capital gains exclusion that goes around along with selling your primary residence. So you're creating an adverse capital gains tax bill for them to pay. And then in addition to that, if they are nice, after they pay the tax, then they have to give you the money back, which could create a gift tax problem for them and impact their estate planning efforts. Finally, you get the money back, and then you can go ahead and buy another house. Folks, don't go through that. Set up an irrevocable trust to protect your assets from the cost of long-term care.
Educate yourself about the implications of gifting your assets away. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide called Making the Most of Gifting Assets right now by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request a copy from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Are you retired like me, and you just found out you owe the IRS a ton of money? Well, what would your life be like if they took your retirement savings away from you? They can do it, and your property. If you owe the IRS back taxes or you haven't filed in a while, the Tax Relief Line is here to help you. They can stop the IRS from taking your retirement savings. If you qualify, you could have your tax bill reduced to zero. That's right, if you're retired and you owe the IRS a lot in back taxes, you could have your entire tax bill reduced to zero due. The IRS has now hired thousands of new employees, so they're ready to come after you. Don't let them take your retirement savings or property. Make this free call now.
800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. 800-251-2153. That's 800-251-2153.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. If you're looking for an incredible vacation filled with sun, fun, and no need for a passport, look no further than the United States Virgin Islands. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John were voted the #1 vacation destination to visit this December according to U.S. News and World Report. December is the start of the dry season in the islands, so you can expect perfect temperatures, beautiful beaches, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now before Old Man Winter comes calling. Head to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Legacy planning is incredibly important if you want to make sure you keep your assets in your family. But if it isn't done properly, you can create significant problems. Gifting assets to your children is admirable, but may not always be the best course of action, especially if there are financial difficulties or a divorce proceeding. Learn how to protect yourself and your family by calling Cushing & Dolan and asking for their brand new guide called Making the Most of Gifting Assets. In it, you'll learn about information related to the gifting process, what tax issues may arise from a major gift like a home or a vacation property, and what happens to the asset if a child has creditor issues. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Fine-tuning your financial strategy as the year comes to a close is very important. So this month, we're sharing what we believe are the most crucial year-end financial tips. As 2023 winds down, there are several opportunities for you to consider that may help you end this year with as little concern as possible about your overall planning. Things like maximizing your charitable giving, offsetting your capital gains, and contributing as much money as you can to your IRA or 401k plan. We'll walk you through these issues and more in our new free guide called the Top Year-End Financial Tips. Get yours today by calling 800-393-4001. That number again is 800-393-4001, or you can also request the guide online by visiting our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by taking part in this year's DAV 5K. For more information, visit DAV5K.Boston. The DAV 5K Boston is proudly presented by Veterans Development Corporation. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Mike Armstrong.
Chuck and Mike here, and we are continuing to partner with our Boston affiliate during this hour as WRKO looks to raise money for the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We got Veterans Day tomorrow. Today is the Marine Corps birthday, and so this is a fantastic time to make your gift to support those who have served and helped protect us and keep us safe. The number to call to make your donation is 978-632-1985. That number again is 978-632-1985. If you happen to be listening to us on a computer, you can also go and visit DAV5K.Boston and make your gift there. So either way, money goes to support the same cause, and all the proceeds will benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. That number again is 978-632-1985. Mike, we got markets rallying today. Yesterday they sold off. Today they're rallying. Why even bother?
Yeah.
I have an interesting thought.
Okay, I actually have one piece. Don't bother getting excited about 1 days of market moves. Like yesterday, they sold off. Could have taken that as, end of the rally. We've seen markets rally for 7 days. It's all going to fall apart. And today you have an exact reversal of what happened yesterday. So
I have an interesting theory, by the way, about yesterday.
Okay.
So the sell-off in treasuries, specifically long-term treasuries, which then led to the sell-off in equities, was sparked by not a failed, but a very bad 30-year U.S. Treasury auction, where you simply did not have the level of bids that you thought you were going to get for said auction. We just covered a story about how the U.S. arm of the Chinese bank that focuses on buying and selling U.S. Treasuries was hacked yesterday and not able to operate. What I'm getting at is, if one of the major buyers and sellers of U.S. Treasuries was unable to participate in said auction, then maybe that auction was bad because they were hacked and not because there was actually a lack of demand.
That would be fascinating, probably without a fair bit of evidence right now. Do we know that they were taken down all day yesterday?
I don't, but I'm kind of putting two and two together.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because it's not like we haven't seen many auctions like this in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
It would be just kind of unusual for it to just happen. I mean, they do at some point, but just kind of trying to figure out what was going on. In any case, today we got the Dow up 146 points, the S&P's up 27, NASDAQ up 128. The 10-year U.S. Treasury back down another 5 basis points to 4.58%. Oil, West Texas Intermediate, up $1.10 a barrel to $76.84, but still well off its $91 range that was at in early October. By the way, the national average for gas, according to AAA, just dipped into the 330s here. We're now at $3.39 a gallon, so continuing to drop around half a cent to a cent a day, depending on the particular day, but we keep inching closer to Thanksgiving, and gas prices keep going down, so that certainly is good news. And then we've got gold. Gold is currently trading at $19.46 and 30 cents an ounce, down $23.50 today, which is kind of an interesting move because normally yields down, you would say gold would be up. So yields down, gold down. That's kind of an interesting move to me. Just putting it out there. What do you give? When you give up on buying a house, what do you do with the down payment?
I gotta tell you, this is such a fascinating question to me. I the journal article, the rest of it is fine. But what an interesting question that people haven't generally been faced with all that often recently, and is definitely the case right now. I've spoken to 2 people in just the last week who fall into this category of maybe not having given up, but certainly having decided to not participate right now in buying a home.
Well, I think the first thing that you need to determine is whether or not you're giving up.
That's a big difference.
Or you're just saying, hey, we're going to put this on hold for a year or 2.
Yeah, there's a huge difference there, because giving up to me would be,
hey, we've saved 40, 50,000, whatever it might be.
And we're going to rent forever instead. Or
Yes.
we're going to renovate our existing house instead, and we're going to stay there, and we're not going to consider the housing market going forward. Those are 2 different things versus I'm renting right now. I still want to buy a house. Not going to do it today. Maybe I'll do it 2 years from now. Very different things here, and that's an important distinction.
Because if you think you may revisit it a year or 2 from now, then the answer is the money that you've saved with your down payment, you keep it exactly where it is, somewhere very safe that it doesn't move around a whole lot because you might need it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've made this point before. I've never actually looked at a correlation chart or a matrix on national housing prices, next to stock prices. But in times of, severe down markets, I'd be willing to guess that they correlate pretty highly, right? I mean, certainly 2008 was one example. March of 2020 was a blip on the radar, but yeah, if you tried to sell your home in April of 2020, it probably was pretty challenging. And so most certainly, if you're still looking at this as, hey, I want to eventually make a down payment on a home, there are certain areas that maybe that doesn't belong in the short term.
Now, if you say, look, we're just giving up on this. We're not going to do it anymore. It's, we've tried, we're just not going to do it. The next question is, okay, do you have something else that you've been, needing to do with money that you now have funds available for in order to do? And when I say needing to do, I mean that first, like needing to do. Do you or a spouse need a new vehicle because yours is unreliable and breaking down and things like that?
Do you need to renovate your home to be able to fit into the one that you already have since you gave up on buying the big one?
Do you need to do some medical work that you've been putting off? And now you have, quite honestly, you should probably do the medical work before buying a house.
Good idea.
But, you can't really buy a house if you're dead.
True.
At least I don't think you can.
Maybe it's just a new nose, though.
Maybe your estate can. No, I mean like actual medical work,
The calf implants I've always wanted.
It'll lift you up 4 inches.
Have you guys read the horror stories of the people that are doing these surgeries to put metal rods in their femurs to make themselves taller coming out of the pandemic?
God, what a crazy thing to do.
Like, no, I'm sorry, but how dumb do you have to do? How dumb do you have to be to do that?
That's some serious internal self-esteem issues.
Right, like, I'm 5'7" on a good day.
I'd love to be 6'2".
I am shorter than, 60% of American men. It's fine.
There's a South Park episode about this. Yeah, that's wild. Absolutely wild.
Make me a dolphin.
So once you've gone through the list of stuff that you might want to, or that you need to do, and you've checked that off your list, then you say, okay, I've got all this money. What could I do with it? And the answer is really kind of twofold. The first is you can use it to save for longer term things that you might want otherwise.
Put the kids to college, retire one day.
Exactly, those types of things. You could say, hey, I'm just going to keep it liquid in case something comes up, build an emergency fund. These are the responsible things. And then you get to the irresponsible ones, which are like, hey, you know what? There's going to be an F1 race in Vegas this weekend. Let's go have a good time.
Down payment money, see you later. I'm not buying a house
Let's go
anymore.
see the cars go really fast.
Yeah, there's definitely still some of that YOLO type stuff happening here with people's down payments. The one I found interesting, and it's really tough to say if this is directly correlated to people not participating in the housing market, but there was a 15% increase in the number of new 529 college savings accounts that were opened in the third quarter compared to a year ago. So maybe that has something to do with it. People saying, hey, I've got this down payment money. I'm not buying a house, so I'll finally catch up on the 529 contributions. That's an interesting one to me.
Reminder that we are participating in our Boston affiliate WRKO's DAV Radiothon to benefit the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. You can make your gift today by calling 978-632-1985. That number again is 978-632-1985. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we're going to be joined by Paul LaMonica, and we might do a little bit of trivia as well in the next segment.
Text us at 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we are covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, joining a long line of family members who also served our country. After my service, I connected with the VA healthcare systems where I attended meetings with disabled veterans and learned for the first time about the DAV. I was so impressed with the work they do to help millions of veterans, including providing necessary services like transportation, education, and financial opportunities. Today, I stand a proud partner of the DAV in the 2023 DAV 5K. My company, Veterans Development Corporation, is a general contracting firm working with many disabled veterans, and I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 11th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston. Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I'm no stranger to the military community. My late uncle, Albert Vonner, served proudly in the 1st Marine Division in World War II and gave the ultimate sacrifice for his country. I am surrounded by a family of disabled veterans, including my father, Victor, and brother, Timothy. I am a veteran, and I have dedicated my business and my life to helping veterans. My company, Veterans Development Corporation, works to help disabled veterans every day, and it's one of the key reasons why I'm such a big supporter of Dan Stack and the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. I am so thrilled to be proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 11th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston.
Hi folks, it's Susan and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group to talk with you today about our top year-end planning tips, which are featured in our brand new guide for the month of November. There's a lot of information in this guide, Mike, that we can certainly use throughout the course of the year, but some of the tips that we've included, if you don't implement them before year-end, it's too late. What are those?
Yeah, so a lot of them have to do with retirement accounts. So for instance, if you have a required minimum distribution, that's a 12/31 due date, and most of the custodians actually require you to do it earlier than that, so get on it if you have an RMD. If you're considering a Roth conversion, that also needs to be done by December 31st. You can't do it until your tax filing deadline. And 401k contributions, once again, must be in to your employer-sponsored plan before year-end. You have a little bit more flexibility if you have an IRA, but with some of those things, it's by year-end, not the tax filing deadline. There's also a big one to keep track of this time of year that a lot of people look into, and that has to do with harvesting potential losses. And given the way that markets have fluctuated this year, it very well could be that you have some capital losses in an investment portfolio, and at least looking at those and seeing how they could benefit you from a tax perspective is important. Obviously, caveat, speak with a tax professional or advisor when looking at this type of thing.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Folks, you can request your free copy of this brand new guide by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001. You can also request your free copy of our top year-end planning tips guide by visiting our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. Fall's in full swing, the cold weather's coming, and now's the perfect time to get a head start on your next vacation. The U.S. Virgin Islands have been named one of the top Caribbean destinations so far this year, according to Travel Pulse. Explore St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John and enjoy incredible beaches, world-class dining, and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no passport required or money to exchange. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
We're now joined by Paul LaMonica. He is a contributor at Investor Place, and we're going to be talking a little bit about good old AMC, the movie theater chain that reported earnings earlier this week. Mr. LaMonica, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Doing well. Probably better than AMC investors who have seen the stock fall north of 20% in the last week or so. What's been the bad news for them? What's been going on?
Yeah, it's been a brutal drop for the so-called apes. I think the biggest problem is that even though the earnings were good, and they did report a surprise profit for the third quarter, revenue up 45%. So the box office, while still not at pre-pandemic levels, has rebounded thanks to some popular movies. The problem is that AMC is once again going to dilute its existing investors with a proposed $350 million share offering. And I think that investors are obviously not too thrilled with that. And that is why AMC stock has just taken this big drop over the past couple of days.
Paul, the stock is down like 98 or 99% from its 2021 peak. What are these apes still doing messing around here with how much money they've probably lost? I mean, I feel terrible for these people who have just lost probably their life savings in a lot of cases, and I just don't know what the way out is for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, obviously, investors always have to be wary of getting attached to just one stock, especially one like AMC that has this sort of fanatical, almost dare I say, cult sort of
No, it is
following.
A cult. It is a cult.
Yeah, I mean, because let's be honest. I mean, if you look at the fundamentals of AMC, yes, things are getting closer to returning to normal. Barbenheimer obviously gave the industry a big lift. I think there were a lot of people surprised by just how strong the Taylor Swift concert movie did. And, there are, I think, increasing hopes that Beyonce's movie coming out in December will also do big box office. But I think a lot of people are only going to the movies now for those really big event-driven cultural phenomenons. And you have Netflix, you have Disney Plus. There are so many other streaming options out there. And that's a problem for AMC and the other theater chains. And that's the other thing. I'm mystified by why AMC, we got to give credit to Adam Aron. They have generated so much self-promotion and hype for themselves in what's a pretty sleepy industry. And you could buy other companies. You can buy Cinemark. The shares of that company have done really well this year. Marcus, a smaller one, has done okay. And then there's IMAX as well. So it's not as if AMC, there's this scarcity value that it's the only publicly traded movie theater stock out there.
Is there a case to be made? I know you mentioned, these one-offs that have helped this year, but overall box office numbers still are down significantly from pre-pandemic levels. It seems to me that the industry as a whole is still kind of a shrinking ice cube. Is that a fair way of looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not that dramatic because the numbers are inching closer to pre-pandemic levels. And who's to say if we don't have a great slate of blockbuster movies once the effects of the writers and actors strike, which is probably going to delay production of a lot of things, maybe push them from 2024 into 2025. It's possible that we may get to a point where theater demand, attendance, and box office eventually exceed pre-pandemic levels. But even without COVID-19 and concerns about going out, which I don't think really are that big of a concern anymore for both vaccinated and unvaccinated people. You've got this whole issue of why do I need to go out unless it is Barbie, unless it is Oppenheimer, because I'm just going to sit at home and watch Loki on Disney Plus or something on Netflix or, Prime Video from Amazon. There are so many other entertainment options out there that you really only have a handful of event movies, I think, every year.
Which, by the way, don't give me any spoilers on last night's Loki episode because I have not watched it yet.
I haven't watched it. I still need to watch the 5th episode and then the series or season finale.
Oh, you got a nice weekend then. It's that's a great weekend, I think.
There we go. Better than watching the Giants.
Hey, the Pats play at 9:30 on Sunday, so at least the pain is over early on. So there's that. I can get on with my day then. Paul, thanks.
I would take Mac Jones right now over the third string quarterback for the Giants.
It's 6 of one, half dozen of another. It's fine.
Yes.
Let's.
Danny DeVito might be better than Tommy DeVito. Oh, that was awful. That's not nice.
Was it? No, it wasn't. Who was the guy who starred in the guy who was the trash guy who became the kicker for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, I forget.
Oh yeah.
It was a joke movie, not the Mark Wahlberg one, but it was like the trash can kicking, field goal kicking Philadelphia phenomenon.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyways, Paul, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
That is Paul LaMonica talking about AMC.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange. Is brought to you by Applebee's. Choose from a variety of half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m., including half-price boneless buffalo wings, half-price spinach and artichoke dip, and half-price warm pretzels dipped in beer cheese. Gather with friends any day of the week at Applebee's and say hello to half-price appetizers served late night because half off is just more fun. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine-in only. Well, yesterday on the show, we talked about Bob Iger's vision for the future of Disney. Today, we'll focus on the reason Disney became an entertainment powerhouse, animated movies. The highest-grossing animated Disney movies are largely CGI and created within the last 15 years. But if you adjusted for inflation, a Disney classic would top them all. Trivia question today. Which Disney animated movie is the highest grossing of all time? Once again, which Disney animated movie is the highest grossing of all time? Be the second person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt and be registered to win a $100 gift card to Applebee's. Be sure to include the keyword Applebee's in your text, and we'll give away that gift card in the next couple of segments. 617-362-1385, and the second correct response will be our winner. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
By the way, Chuck, I think you were referring to the character Bobby Boucher from the biography The Waterboy.
No, I'm thinking it's the garbage-picking, field goal kicking Philadelphia phenomenon starring Tony Danza.
Yeah.
We are the Debt Destroyer Network. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt, call now for free information that helps you destroy your debt. It's great advice. Plus, when you make this free call now, we have Debt Destroyer experts ready to help. They can show you how to destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help slash your debt. Call the Debt Destroyer now for free information. Call now. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. 800-430-8804. Again, that's 800-430-8804.
If you're looking for an incredible vacation filled with sun, fun, and no need for a passport, Look no further than the United States Virgin Islands. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John were voted the #1 vacation destination to visit this December according to U.S. News and World Report. December is the start of the dry season in the islands, so you can expect perfect temperatures, beautiful beaches, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now before Old Man Winter comes calling. Head to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
Building a solid financial strategy is a core element to enjoying your retirement years. That's why you need advice that you can count on. At the Armstrong Advisory Group, we understand the challenges of positioning your assets to help you maintain your wealth over time. Our goal is to offer advice that is both suitable and in your best interest. When you hire one of us, you hire all of us so you can be comfortable knowing that every advisor in our firm is dedicated to helping you create a realistic plan for your later years. Visit us today at armstrongadvisory.com and sign up for a free, no-obligation planning session. Click the Get Started button at the top right corner of the homepage, and you can select the day and time that works best for you. Go to armstrongadvisory.com and let us help you secure your financial future. That's armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke, a partner with the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with a master's in taxation. And today, we're talking about the implications of gifting assets away. Todd, if you're trying to protect your assets from the cost of long-term care expenses, what are the risks in giving your assets to a child rather than transferring them to an irrevocable trust?
Yeah, that's a great question. So many people feel like, oh my gosh, it's an irrevocable trust. I've lost all control. I've given up the ability to do just about anything. You know, you hear that all the time. But you know what? Think about it. If I instead gave my investment portfolio to my children, right, or my rental property to my children, I mean, how much control do I have over that? I got none. I mean, I got to rely on them to pretty much do everything, not to mention the fact that, you know, let's say I gave my rental property away. Technically, I can't sell it. I can't do anything without the children doing it. And what you forget is the children then would be entitled to all the rent. Well, you gave away your rental income. You know, what about if a child gets a divorce and you gave them an investment portfolio to hold on to? Well, that money would all be subject to their divorce or any of their creditors. Plus, it all gets picked up on their income tax return. Folks, you give away assets, you lose all control and create lots of adverse income tax and gift tax consequences. You're way better off setting up an irrevocable trust to protect your assets from the cost of long-term care.
Educate yourself about the implications of gifting your assets away. Request your free copy of Todd's brand new guide called Making the Most of Gifting Assets right now by calling 866-848-5699, or you can request a copy from LegalExchangeShow.com. Once again, 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, LegalExchangeShow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. For your chance to win our daily trivia contest, text us at 617-362-1385. Complete rules are available at financialexchangeshow.com. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Trivia question today was, which Disney animated movie is the highest grossing of all time? That would be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In 1937, Walt Disney Animation Studios released its first fully animated feature film, which was Snow White. If inflation were adjusted for, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would appear at the top of the chart with an adjusted gross of about $1.97 billion. Winner of the t-shirt today, the Financial Exchange Show t-shirt, was Lorraine from Westfield, Mass. And the winner of the $100 Applebee's gift card for the week was Anthony from North Providence. Congrats to both winners today. And trivia is brought to you by Applebee's. Choose from a variety of half-price late-night appetizers after 9 p.m. because half off is just more fun. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood. Void where prohibited. Dine in only.
Mike, let's talk a little bit about why electric cars need lots of trees.
Seems like a weird connection, right? Are we burning the trees?
Are we building a lot of wooden cars?
No, in fact, what we're seeing is that, as we have talked about, our grid does not have the capacity to deal with everyone charging their vehicles. And so what that means is that you need higher gauge wire and just more stuff on every existing electrical pole. And therefore, you need bigger electrical poles.
You need bigger poles. So the poles apparently are made out of loblolly and longleaf pines.
One of my favorite words, loblolly.
It's a great word.
Yeah.
And you need very specific types of trees here because they have to be grown straight. You can't have a bent one that you straighten out because the structural integrity just doesn't work that way. And so there's a real issue with trying to grow enough of these tall enough to have all the poles you need.
I'm sure that I am missing something here, but I will once again say, wouldn't this be a great opportunity to bury all of our lines so every time it snows and gets windy, we don't lose power in the Northeast?
Yes.
Okay. So long as we're all on the same page about that, then I'm on board here. Folks, as you probably have heard, today we are participating with our Boston affiliate WRKO to support the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We've got the DAV 5K tomorrow, and your gifts can sponsor a veteran's family member at summer camp, as well as veterans who are homeless or hospitalized. To make a gift today, you can call 978-632-1985. That number again, 978-632-1985, or by visiting dav5k.boston. All gifts support the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. And speaking of which, we are now joined by Mike Valilla. Mike Valilla honorably served in the U.S. Army and National Guard for 9 years as a mechanic and truck driver. He was deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation New Dawn, and also served as the 54th Regimental Honor Guard conducting military funerals across the state of Massachusetts. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So I failed to mention as all of this that you are also the adjutant for the DAV Department of Massachusetts. Would you mind talking to me a little bit about how you became involved with the DAV?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first came home from Iraq, I wanted to change what I was doing for employment. Prior to, I was doing the military funerals, but I came home and I said, I really don't want to hold a flag and bury any of my brothers any longer. So I had started working in a different capacity. I was a grant manager at my hospital in town, and I started running a peer-to-peer veterans group, just a place where guys could kind of talk and get things off their chest, connect with one another in my spare hours in the evening there. And one thing led to another. I started helping guys with their disability claims. And long story short, one of our former national commanders of DAV caught wind of what I was doing and came and spoke to me and said, I think you fit in really well over at DAV. And he introduced me to the team in Boston. And very shortly thereafter, I started as a national service officer for DAV doing claims, benefits, and appeals out of the office in Boston. Then a few years ago, I transitioned out of that position and came over to the State Department. So I wanted to have more of an impact locally with the veterans that we serve here in the Commonwealth. And then Dan Stack took me under his wing, and the rest is history. I was appointed as assistant adjutant 2 years ago, and then appointed as adjutant this past September.
Mike, I know there's a lot of great work that the DAV does. We've talked about volunteer opportunities in transportation and veterans with physical disabilities. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you alluded to, which is the mental health side of all of this, the PTSD that you see, and your experience on that side of things, working with other service members and the DAV's work on that side particularly?
Yeah. Absolutely. Interesting story enough. Dan was actually one of the people who participated in a study back in the 70s that helped create the diagnosis of PTSD. DAV funded that research study that came out with the diagnosis, and then through our lobbying and legislative actions, we were able to get it added to the DSM-3 so it could be recognized as a formal mental health diagnosis in veterans. And then legislatively, we were able to get it moved so that veterans could be treated for and service-connected and receive health care for mental health. And that's one of the really unique things about this organization that really pulled me in. I, like many veterans, have memberships to a whole cohort of veteran service organizations and nonprofits. And I've been very active in many of them throughout the years, but DAV is kind of where I sunk all of my efforts in, and that's really captured my attention and my family's attention, because it is a very family-friendly organization, accepting, when you bring in your spouse, your kids, whomever, the organization is very friendly to family. We have an auxiliary component that's specifically there for family members and supporters of veterans to join and become a part of, and that auxiliary supports all the efforts of DAV. Throughout the state, we log our service encounters with veterans. Just from November 11th, Veterans Day last year, 2022, to yesterday, I pulled the report. It shows that just in Massachusetts here, we've had over 100,000 service encounters and referrals provided by our members. Those services include, but aren't limited to, assistance with claims and benefits, transportation, food pantry, housing, mental health care, peer support, community and social activities. We have 128 certified service officers across the state, stationed at each of our VA medical centers and in many cities and towns as well. They completed over 4,000 interviews, resulting in over 3,200 disability claims filed this past year. Our voluntary service program in the hospitals has over 260 registered volunteers at our 5 VA medical centers in Massachusetts. And this past year, they put in over 28,000 hours of service to hospitalized veterans, with a cost savings to the VA of over $2.5 million. And the transportation network is fantastic that Coleman was speaking about earlier. We have 32 volunteer drivers in the state right now, and in the past year, they've logged over 3,500 hours, traveled over 53,000 miles, and transported over 700 veterans to their VA medical appointments. So when somebody thinks about donating to DAV or helping DAV, and they're really thinking, where's that money going? That's where that money's going. I'm proud to say that more than 98% of the donations that we have go directly to the veterans in need of those services that we provide. DAV carries a 100% rating on Charity Navigator as a 4-star charity. It's a great organization to be a part of.
Sure is. Mike Valilla, he is the adjutant of the DAV Department of Massachusetts, and joins us today to talk about his work with the department. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about the organization.
Thanks for having me, Mike, and I look forward to seeing you and everybody else at the 5K tomorrow. If you've never been before, it's a very family-friendly environment. It's not just a bunch of people running, but there's a lot of pomp and circumstance to it. We have the howitzer cannons that start us off and get everybody really excited. We have tons of vendors that come in, the sausage guy, Wahlburgers, and so many more that leave everybody with a full stomach afterwards. It's just a really, really good time for everybody of all ages. So I hope to see you there in the morning, Mike.
No doubt. Thanks, Mike. Again, if you want to make your donation, you can call 978-632-1985. That number again is 978-632-1985, or by visiting dav5k.boston. Quick break here on the Financial Exchange. We'll be right back with Stack Roulette.
Missed one of our shows? Catch up anytime by asking your Alexa smart speaker to play the Financial Exchange. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you're looking for an incredible vacation filled with sun, fun, and no need for a passport, look no further than the United States Virgin Islands. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John were voted the #1 vacation destination to visit this December according to U.S. News and World Report. December is the start of the dry season in the islands, so you can expect perfect temperatures, beautiful beaches, a wide variety of water sports, world-class cuisine, and a vibrant nightlife. From the moment you arrive, you'll fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. There's no money to exchange, and travel from New England could not be easier. Make your plans now before Old Man Winter comes calling. Head to visitusvi.com. Learn about all 3 islands and plan the ideal vacation for you and your family. America's Caribbean paradise is waiting for you. So head to visitusvi.com for more information and to reserve your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. Legacy planning is incredibly important if you want to make sure you keep your assets in your family. But if it isn't done properly, you can create significant problems. Gifting assets to your children is admirable, but may not always be the best course of action, especially if there are financial difficulties or a divorce proceeding. Learn how to protect yourself and your family by calling Cushing & Dolan and asking for their brand new guide called Making the Most of Gifting Assets. In it, you'll learn about information related to the gifting process, what tax issues may arise from a major gift like a home or a vacation property, and what happens to the asset if a child has creditor issues. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Susan Powers from the Armstrong Advisory Group. There are some important financial considerations to keep in mind as the end of the year approaches, so here are some crucial tips for you to think about. Our guide this month is called the Top Year-End Planning Tips, and in it, we'll walk you through key concepts like tax loss harvesting, family gifting, and properly calculating your required minimum distributions. All are important to your overall planning. Call our office today at 800-393-4001 and get your copy of this free guide that may help you finish 2023 with less concern about your financial strategy while setting you up for a positive start in 2024. Call 800-393-4001 and ask for your free guide today. Or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K Boston. Let's meet their CEO, Mark Vonner.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old, joining a long line of family members who also served our country. After my service, I connected with the VA healthcare systems where I attended meetings with disabled veterans and learned for the first time about the DAV. I was so impressed with the work they do to help millions of veterans, including providing necessary services like transportation, education, and financial opportunities. Today, I stand a proud partner of the DAV and the 2023 DAV 5K. My company, Veterans Development Corporation, is a general contracting firm working with many disabled veterans, and I hope that by sharing my story, many other disabled veterans will be able to reach their goals once they conclude their service.
Veterans Development Corporation is proudly partnered with this year's DAV 5K, taking place on Saturday, November 11th at Fort Independence in South Boston. To register for this year's race, visit dav5k.boston. If you missed any of today's show, catch up whenever you want on our YouTube page. Find daily show segments and full shows. Just go to youtube.com and search for The Financial Exchange. This is your home for breaking business and financial news. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
A reminder that we are in the middle of our DAV Radiothon that our Boston affiliate WRKO is doing all day. To make a gift to the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts, call 978-632-1985. That's 978-632-1985. Mike, What do you have for me for Stack Roulette?
I think we are on the verge of seeing a whole bunch of different hardware devices that are powered by ChatGPT and other artificial intelligences. I think I saw the announcement of one that's going to be a home device previously, which is not surprising, looking at competing with the Google Homes and Amazon Alexas of the world. This one, I don't know, seems a little bit too futuristic for me, but it is an AI device that you wear on your chest, almost like a Star Trek badge. The goal here is to try and replace some of the functionality of your smartphone. And so you'll just talk to this thing, and you will put your hand out. It's got a laser projection system that will display information on my palm instead of a screen. So I've got a question for you. I need directions to this place. I'm walking downtown New York. It's going to display those directions on my palm instead of having to whip out my cell phone and take a look at it that way.
So it's kind of like Princess Leia shows up in your hand?
It's just like that.
Okay.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Yeah. It's
Where is
precisely like that, except more useless stuff like, where is Starbucks and how much is it going to cost me? I don't know.
The Rebel Alliance needs more caffeine.
I'm not there personally.
We're falling asleep flying our X-Wings.
But I will say that these things would seem to be able to do a lot better job than my Google Home product. I mean, based on the questions that I've been able to ask, granted, gotten some false answers on those, but I would think I know you don't have one, Chuck, but my, home smart device that I primarily use to set timers and ask it what the animal of the day is, because my kids really enjoy that part.
Yeah, my kid too does.
What's today?
I haven't asked. We usually do it around dinner time, so I don't want to spoil it for them.
Oh, okay.
But
they listen to the show a lot?
Yeah, huge fans of the show, and they're off for Veterans Day, so they might be right now listening to it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, tell them to find out. Get back to us.
Hey, Google, what's the animal of the day?
Oh, you're such a jerk. Bunch of people, smart homes, are just going,
I know,
blinking and freaking out. So, yeah, that's apparently coming. It's made by a group of former Apple executives. They started their own company, and I'm sure that this isn't going to be the one that revolutionizes our world, but I think we're getting close to seeing a lot of this. The other area that I saw is apparently some are, guessing that we will see this in military usage pretty quickly. I think we all know that drones have been a huge part of the war in Russia and Ukraine, and drones powered by artificial intelligence to coordinate things.
Yeah, what could go wrong?
Yeah, that's quite literally, I've heard experts on the Ukraine situation talking about how if that's not happening in a year, it may have already been happening in terms of it's just basically unmanned drones. So you just have artificial intelligence direct the things instead of having a human pilot them. Yeah. So we're gonna be breaking some new ground soon.
I don't like it.
Hear ya. That's where we are.
I know. I don't like it. Another thing I don't like is the expandingness of tipping culture.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
No, this is a piece from the Washington Post. It's titled, "Americans Are Confused, Frustrated by a New Tipping Culture Study Finds." So Pew put out a... What?
It's just... I'm confused and frustrated by this tipping. It's kind of...
Listen. With my daughter right now, we're going through understanding our feelings, so this is the perfect piece to help explain what frustration is.
Yeah.
Tipping is frustration right now. And Pew put out this study yesterday. And what it said is that 72% of respondents said that tipping is expected in more places today than it was 5 years ago, which makes me wonder what the other 28% of people are looking at, because it's absolutely in more places than it was just a few years ago. I think that when we look at tipping culture in the U.S. historically, it's largely been a couple different areas. Restaurants are the biggest one. And then mostly like travel-related service.
Yeah, bellhops.
And I'm not... yes, when you give someone... when you tip your garbage man a year-end bonus or something like that, I don't include that in tipping. That's different.
Yep.
But tipping, to me, and the expansion into other businesses, is really just kind of disrespectful of the promise that you make when you're doing business with someone, which is you're going to pay your people to provide me what I'm buying, and I'm going to buy your stuff.
There's a bunch of local rules that further confuse the issue, too. So in the state of Massachusetts, I looked this up beforehand. In Massachusetts specifically, only wait staff, service employees, and bartenders can participate in tips. So a lot of restaurants across the country will do tip sharing, the tip pool to tip the back of the house.
Sure.
Not allowed in the state of Massachusetts, which, again, further complicates things for those restaurant owners who say, I want to pay my back of the house more. If I just raise all my prices, all I'm going to do is, I will be able to afford that, but then I'll be ending up paying my waiters more as a result of that because tips are percentage based. I'm not saying it's not a complicated issue. It is a complicated issue. But I don't think the problem is at the restaurants. The problem is the tip creep everywhere else.
I'm happy to tip restaurants very, very well. I just don't know how much to tip anyone else. And what happened?
DAV.
Ah, yes. And so it just is something that bothers me in trying to figure all this stuff out. Folks, reminder, we are currently participating in the DAV Radiothon to make a donation to the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. That number is 978-632-1985, or you can visit dav5k.boston. All the proceeds go to the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. And, again, really to help those who have been hurt while working to protect us during their lives. Markets right now remain in positive territory. We got the Dow up 137, S&P up 28, NASDAQ up 142. We're done for the day, done for the week. Have a great Veterans Day weekend, and we will see you Monday.